B on your left.
B is on my right.
Oh, perfect.
Boom. Yeah, this is going to be good because then we can say, like, I think about A. I think we have the same A and we have the same B. Then at the end, I can say what it is and I can edit it.
I'm so excited for this one.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty awesome. All right. Let's taste some whiskey. So you've got in front of you A and B, right? Let's make sure that everything's set up. A on the left, B on the right.
Yes.
Okay. For those who are listening, you haven't heard enough of him talking probably to know who it is, but we have Bryce back on the show.
I'm glad to be back.
I'm glad to have you back. Your last episode was Green Spot?
Yes.
Correct?
With Zach.
Irish, what'd you call it? Irish Springs soap?
Yeah, the bar of Irish Spring.
Yeah. So that was your last episode on here. For those of you who don't know, Bryce started on the show hating whiskey.
Yeah.
He's one of my few victory stories that I like to talk about.
Chris told me to watch the documentary Neat.
Yeah, on Hulu.
And I watched it, and it was a very eye-opening documentary. And I now have a new appreciation to be on the show and what you do.
And that was after the last time you were on here, right? So now this is the first episode.
Yeah, whiskey is a true art form. And for people like me who are simple, you almost need somebody who's able to interpret the art form into something that you can understand and appreciate more. Because I'm looking at bottles of hot liquor and not knowing all of the work and everything that goes into it. And, you watch somebody do it and you get to see what it's, what it's about. And you get to really appreciate all the uniqueness in each bottle.
That sounds like a stellar idea for a podcast.
What?
Having somebody who can translate that for you. And
yeah. It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Now you see where this came from.
Yes, sir.
When I was a little bit less new than you, but that's like when I came up with this idea. I was like, somebody needs to break this all down.
Yeah.
And that's literally where this came from.
Yeah, like if sometimes you watch a movie and like you got to go on YouTube.
Yeah.
Afterwards to like know what's what.
American Psycho.
Yeah, I can't process what happened. I need to, I don't understand what happened. Somebody who has a different perspective, like tell me.
And knows movies, and they're like, well, this was a callback to this.
An expert.
An
expert.
You got to have a sensei.
Exactly.
I'll be that today. I don't know how great of a job I'm going to do, but
I hope I enjoy this more than I did before I watched the documentary.
Yeah. Yeah, let's hope so. I hope it opens your eyes to it a little bit. Unfortunately, that documentary is bourbon.
Right.
And I'm not telling you what we're drinking today. So it might be bourbon, it might be Scotch,
I'm gonna pretend
Irish,
it's
rye.
bourbon.
Okay, just in your head, it's bourbon.
Yep.
So for Bryce today, this is a double blind. You have two glasses in front of you. You don't know what's in those two glasses at all. Like, you don't even know what the two bottles are. For me, this is single blind because I picked out the bottles. So I know what the two bottles are, but I don't know which is which. And that's going to be the added challenge for me, is to really put myself to the test and see if I can tell which is which. Yeah, I'm nervous. I just came out with an episode last week where I did a blind tasting with these guys, Blind Barrels. They do some really cool, they send out fully blind tastings and you try them. And a couple of those guesses were so far off. Like I guessed the mash bill right and everything, and then the year I was way off with how old it was.
Oh, really?
But it was a rye, and I don't know ryes very well.
Was it newer or older than you thought?
Way older than I thought.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, well, you win some, you lose some.
What made you think it was newer?
It was very, and we actually talked about it in that episode because it was very light in the glass. Like, it was very clear. And I was like, in my head, I was thinking, I wish I would have said it out loud now, but everybody on here is going to be like, you're making stuff up to make yourself sound better. In my head, I was like, this tastes old because it had like an old funkiness that rye gets when it's a little bit older, but I'm very new to aging ryes. Bourbons, I feel like I've gotten pretty good at. Ryes are pretty new to me. And so I was like, well, it looks pretty light colored, so I'm just going to take a swag at it, and I'm going to say 7 years, I think I said. It was like 15 or 16 years.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was super good.
Is there a reason why it was?
It was just misleading. It could have been the interaction with the barrel. It was barrel proof too, so I knew it was high proof by that point, right? Yes, I did. So I thought, well, if it's barrel proof, then it's this clear, it must be super young.
Right, that makes sense.
That was not the case. I don't know how. I don't know why. Yeah, very interesting. Sometimes it's just, and also the climate makes a big difference. How much is it interacting with the barrel? Those sorts of things. So we're gonna try to take stabs at some of those things today. I'm gonna put you to the test and see if you can tell what type it is. Tell me some stuff about it.
I like it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't talk too much because I know what the two are. I just don't know which is which. So that is the case. So for those of you who didn't catch that, double blind means you don't know at all what you're drinking. Blind means that I know what the two things are. I just don't know which is which. So that's the difference that we're having right now. Without further ado, this is what we're doing for this episode is the blind tasting because I'm excited about it.
Me too. I was really excited.
Right? It's so much fun, especially when you don't even know what they are. Let's go ahead and get a nose right off the bat. So we've got them in front of us as A and B for everybody listening. And I am going to cut right into here and say which is A and which is B. If you don't want to know, if you want to experience the reveal with us, then hit the 15-second skip button right now. B is Green Spot. A, I don't think you've ever had. A is Redbreast, also an Irish whiskey. Okay, so I should have just revealed it for everybody who didn't skip. Let's go ahead and nose A and B. I have a favorite on the nose.
Yeah, definitely A for me.
B for me.
Really?
And this is where I'm going to be upset because if I get wrong,
my
which is
palate
which,
is ever changing.
Fair enough. If I get wrong, which is which, I'm going to be sad.
This B is much more floral to me.
It is. It's a lot.
Almost like it was aged in sherry casks. That's my first guess.
Oh, there you go. I like it. Somebody write it down.
Coming out hot.
Yeah.
This smells like cinnamon and brown sugar.
We're talking about A right now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
B is like oats.
B is more perfumey.
Yeah, perfumey. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's what I meant by floral. Mm-hmm. Definitely the overwhelming sweetness on A.
I can see that, and I don't want to talk too much about the notes because I know what each of them. If I get the guesses right, I know what they're supposed to taste like. But it's less of a perfumey smell on A and more of like a real.
Yeah, it's
smell.
like grainy, sweet.
Yeah. I'm headed right in that same direction.
Very perfumey.
On B.
Yeah, B. Give it a little Old Spice flashback.
Old Spice, baby.
I have a feeling B's going to taste like the envelope.
We're about to find out, aren't we? All right.
Yeah,
Are we doing this thing?
Yeah, one last thing on A. It's a whole like a grain sweetness.
Okay.
So
a granola bar with that's made with honey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like whole wheat. It smells like a whole wheat bread.
Some
whole wheat
honey
flour
butter on it. Yeah.
Definitely more earthy.
Yeah, and it's less showy.
Yeah.
It's almost like the difference between having like a cake with like some super sour icing and like fruit in the middle versus like a vanilla cake that's made very well.
For sure.
You know, that's
this seems layered. This is like upfront, one-dimensional.
It's like I am what I am.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not going to ask you for any guesses yet. That'd be unfair. Let's taste it first.
I have a guess. I think I know, just because I have this false delusion of confidence from this documentary. I was like, this baby is grown in Kentucky. And this is definitely from Ireland.
Okay, so you're saying A is a bourbon, B is an
sir.
Irish whiskey.
Yes.
All right. I'm not going to reveal anything.
Delusional confidence.
I like the confidence. That's how you got to be with these things, man. You got to take swings.
For sure.
All right.
Are we doing A or B?
A. Let's start with A.
I'm kind of stumped on the flavor.
Okay.
It's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be. I got to go back in. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to have to try B. Honestly.
Give it a try. Take a sip of water first. Try to clear up your palate a little bit. So what I like to do when I do blind battle, I call these blind battles because it's a single blind. So like it's not the same as like a blind tasting. For you, this is a blind tasting. But what I like to do when I'm comparing two is I like to do A, sip of water, get my palate really clean. B, sip of water, get my palate really clean. A, and then A, B.
Yeah.
B, A, with just straight to it.
Okay.
I like that. It really gives you an idea of the
let's follow
full
that path then.
image. Yep. So go ahead with B.
Wow.
I want to let everybody listening know I think I know which is which, and I will be 100% honest if I get it wrong. But I have an idea of which is which. I'm going to type it on my notes so that I don't touch it, and so you're going to hold me to my honesty.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just going to say what I think B is because I know what A is if I know what B is. So I should add that my wife mixed these up for us, so we've got a little envelope with the results. We're gonna do this Miss America style. Hopefully, don't read the wrong or Miss Universe. Who was it that read the wrong one? Did you see that?
No.
Oh my gosh, the guy who hosts Family Feud.
Oh God!
I forget his name, but he somebody.
Steve Harvey.
Yes, yeah, and he read the wrong person.
One thing I will say is I think they're very different.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, like I definitely think this is Scotch, and this may not be bourbon.
Okay.
But I think this is definitely Scotch.
Okay, you think might not be bourbon.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I think A might be bourbon and B is Scotch.
Okay. Hey.
Because B has the envelope taste.
Okay. Hey, shoot or shoot, man.
Yeah.
I like it.
Go back to A.
Okay, go back to A. I will say while you're going back, these taste more different than I expected them to taste. Like these taste pretty. I tried to pick things that would taste like throw you off a little bit. These taste pretty different.
Yeah, they're very different.
Yeah.
I don't know which one I like more.
Yeah, I might flip-flop my answer a little bit throughout this episode. We'll see.
I kind of like... I'll be interested to see the results of this.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you're tasting. So go ahead. Let's do a palette of A.
Yeah, let me dive in on A. It's like... it's not as sweet as I thought it was going to be. Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's super complex. Like everything kind of hits me right at once. And I'm kind of trying to put my finger on what I'm tasting. It's kind of tough.
That's fair. Especially going back and forth. That perfuminess of the B makes A little harder to taste.
What do you tasting?
Similar to the nose. It's a mellow, kind of vanilla-y. Mm-hmm. It's less showy, but almost more elegant in how it's like simple vanilla honey granola to me.
This is like A is mature while B is interesting.
Yeah. It's like what's a good example? I thought I had one, now I don't. Well, who cares?
It's better on the nose than on the palate.
It's like a really well made glazed donut, like Krispy Kreme level, versus an okay made Dunkin' Donuts raspberry filled.
Yeah, just stuffed with the sugar.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I may like B more.
Do you?
Yeah, let me go back to B.
Okay.
And let me see if I can get any flavors on B. Yeah, B definitely has the envelope. But before that, it's like that. It's like perfumey, herbal in a way.
Kind of more body.
Yeah,
it fills your mouth up
for sure
right away.
Yeah, it's just like it's just more complex than this one.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time with the flavors. Pulling the flavors out. I'm
having way more. Maybe it's not that these taste more different than I thought they would. It's that I thought I'd figure it out quicker than I am. I thought I'd taste these and be like, oh, I know what's what.
Are they vastly different?
You mean like what they're made of? Well, I'm not going to tell you that. But I mean, the palette is...
It's vastly different.
Yeah, it's vastly different, and it's vastly different, but I'm still having trouble telling which is which is what's really throwing me for a loop here.
I have no guess.
I think I'm overthinking it.
Which or which? I'm sticking to this one being Scotch.
Well, you don't know
I'm
what
sticking
the
to
two
B,
are, yeah.
to B being Scotch.
Yeah. I don't even know if you've had both of these, to be honest with you. So I'm not going to expect you to just like pick out what it is. But I'd like you to tell me a little bit about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I'd like to, here's the thing. Here's what I'd really like to learn from this. I'd like for you to dive in, once we are done with our glasses, to why you like one more than the other. Mm-hmm. Because doing that blind, you learn way more than doing it.
For sure. I can already see that. I mean, I get like that caramel vanilla sweetness on the front of this, of A. Mm-hmm. But I don't get anything on the back. Mm-hmm. It's very smooth, though. Like I said, it's mature. It feels balanced in a way that's not overpowering front or back end. Because some of these that I've had in the past, it's like, you know, the flavor's pretty good at the start, and then it gets way overpowering, and I'm like coughing up the fumes. Yep. And I don't feel that way about A here.
So you could almost say nice oily finish.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty oily. My mouth isn't dry.
Sounds like not much transition on the palate, though. I'm doing my sensei translating here.
That's what I need. I need a little inspiration.
Yeah. I'm taking the words that I know that you're thinking, and I'm trying to pull them out of you.
Like maybe like a like a hazelnut
Ooh, that's
kind
a
of thing.
interesting one.
Pecan.
Yeah.
Like, that's what almost like it is. It's almost like a roasted pecan sweetness. You know, like roasted nuts.
I've never thought of this as nutty before. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
Yeah. It's like something's been toasted and the oils have been released, and so they're fragrant, a little sweeter. You know, the sugars came out a little bit, but not like candy sweet, which is kind of like why I expected it to be candy sweet on the nose.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's sweeter on the nose, I think.
Let me go back to B here.
Okay. Wow, I'm learning a lot here. This is why I love blind tasting so much. For everybody listening, I mean, you learn so much doing blind tastings. I can sit with one of these glasses, knowing what it is, for an hour and try to analyze it, and I don't learn as much as I do when I don't know which is which.
Yeah, for sure.
You learn way more.
The more we're getting into this, I'm going on a deep dive, trying to describe what I'm tasting. And B is like heavy whole grain pasta at the front.
Ooh.
A little bit of anise. Like what I mean by herbal, I mean like bay leaves, that kind of thing. Like like aromatics you cook in food, fresh peppercorns.
I think aromatic is on the ball.
Yeah, for sure. It's like B is like it's like a Thai curry.
Thai curry.
And A is like just regular old spaghetti and meatballs. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. B is significantly more complex.
It's flashier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like herbs and spices. It's that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it's safe to say B is flashier than A. I think
sure.
my donut analogy is really good, but I don't want it to lean like I don't want to say like, oh, it's a crappy Dunkin' Donuts. The analogy of a really well-made simple versus I don't want to say not well-made, but just a flashier. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the dichotomy that I'm drawing right now.
Yeah, but I could see situationally how these both would, I mean, I'm enjoying B more as we sit here and we do a tasting where we're looking for the complex, how complex this whiskey is. But I can see how A would be more enjoyable just sitting around having a conversation, because it's not hard to take in. Mm-hmm. Whereas B is, you kind of have to think about everything,
Right, in order to fully appreciate it.
Yeah, you're thinking of, what am I tasting? What are these different number of flavors? Whereas A is more just, it's smooth, it's subtle, it's enjoyable, it's very smooth, very oily.
Yep. I'd even throw in a little bit of fruitiness to B, that a little bit less to A.
Yeah.
More to B. Which one was it that you said sherry finish? Was it B?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe so.
Fruitiness.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Can Scotch be aged?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Oh, super common.
I'm right on the money.
Super common.
I'm right on the money.
I'm not trying to push you anywhere, but...
I'm so cocky right now.
You're like, oh, I
nailed it.
This. Yeah, Scotch and Irish both. A lot of sherry aging. Less so in America.
Okay, I'm going to go straight from A to B.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
What's interesting is going from A to B, how much more of that bitter envelope taste B has.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like it really mutes out all of the the flavors you're getting in the front of it.
Yeah. I would argue, don't be afraid to disagree with me, but I would argue that A finishes smoother and B's not necessarily drier, it's just bitterer.
Yeah.
It hits with the bitter.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree with that. This is like, it's got like that tannin, drying your mouth out, bitter flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Licking an envelope, man. Mm-hmm. Let's do B to A then.
Okay.
You can learn a lot going backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, that made A shine.
I was just going to say that too.
Bit. Yeah.
It pops when you go from B to A. And I think, here's my theory, without revealing anything. I think A starts a little bit more subtle and then gets better. B starts a little bit better. Starts a little bit better and then gets bitterer.
Yeah.
So when you go from B to A, you go like decent flavor, bitter, and then you start A and it's like sweet. It shines.
Yeah. It's like sweet in all the good ways.
Yes.
Nothing overpowering, just well balanced.
Yes. 100% agreed.
Yeah, it's just that B is just, it's got that bitter envelope taste.
Yeah.
You know, that it's just, it's hard to, maybe that's an acquired taste. I don't know if people acquire that taste or.
Oh, I'm certain there are people out there who like it. Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, because I know what B probably is.
I mean, it's like, have you eaten black licorice as an adult?
yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. You Swiss cheese. I used to hate Swiss cheese. As an adult, I'm like, oh, put that on my burger, dude. I love it.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just had what are the candies? The Good and Plenties?
Yeah, that are
The
basically
anise
black
candy.
licorice. Yeah.
And I was like, the kid we work with, he brought them in, and I was like, let me try one of those. He's like, they're really good. I was like, I don't think they're that good. And then I tried. I was like, oh yeah, these are pretty good.
Oh wait, these are good. Yeah.
I was like, these are actually pretty good.
I gotta try one again. It's been
You should try
a long time.
I'm telling you, I was shocked. I was like, oh wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah. I need to write that down on the list of stuff to try on the show. I want to try things that are like very clearly a specific flavor note.
Oh yeah.
Like those are obviously anise. Like
Yeah.
that's what they taste like. I want to do some of those.
Oh yeah.
So I think what I'm gonna do now. Well, first I want your thoughts on which one you like more. And then I'm gonna tell you the flavor notes of each of them and see if you can tell me which is which.
Oh, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay.
So first, tell me which one you're thinking you're liking more, or if it's a tie, what's different about them?
Can I do a taste water?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm gonna go A, water, B.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's smooth. It's homey. You know. Mm-hmm. It's like the more we get into A, I feel the more that I'm liking it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the more it sits here, and
Yeah.
we'll see though.
Don't let me sway you because of the donut analogy either, because B is more complex for sure.
I know.
But I think it's a matter of opinion, but I'm interested to see what your opinion is.
It's tough. Like I said,
Yeah?
it's almost situational. Like
Yeah.
of which glass I'd rather have. I think I try to look at it. It's like, okay, if I was gonna buy a bottle,
That's a
which
good way to
bottle
look
would
at
I
it.
buy?
Yeah.
Because it's like I could see where I would enjoy A more at dinner, just having a conversation. But like if we're sitting down, if I'm sitting by myself and I'm just trying to taste a whiskey for what it is, I think I prefer B.
I like that.
I think that if I was to buy a bottle, I think I would buy B.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. All right. So let's, as a little bit of added fun, let's see if you can tell me which is which based on the palettes.
Okay.
So I have nose palette finished. I'll just read you the palette.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's A or B yet because we haven't opened the envelope. But for one of them, you've got full flavored and complex, silky smooth with harmonious balance of spicy, fruity, sherry, and toasted notes. Save your response for the end, kids. The next one we've got full spicy body, a hint of cloves along with fruity sweetness of green apples, rounded off with toasted oak, followed by lingering flavors of spices and barley.
Wow. So unfortunately, I think I'm wrong on the sherry.
Okay.
Can I have can I taste
Yes,
it now?
yes.
I really want the green apple. I think that's gonna be the dead
Ooh,
because after
okay.
I heard that on the flavor note last time, I was like, oh yeah, now I get that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I get the green apple and
So
B.
B
Yeah.
is the second one that I read.
Yep.
A is the first one that I read.
Okay.
So A, as you're going to take a sip of it, says full flavored and complex, silky smooth with harmonious balance of spicy, fruity, sherry, and toasted notes.
I get that. I got the toasted notes for sure.
Yeah, you said
Yeah.
toasted nuts like
Yeah, like
pecans.
pecan.
Yeah, right in there for sure.
I guess the sherry in a way. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, I can smell like that fruity.
you can see a little bit of it for sure.
Yeah.
So let's see if you're right, because if you're right, then I'm right. Because we guessed the same thing. My early guess that
Yeah.
I typed out. So let's see.
B said clove, right? And
Yes.
that's Scotch, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, I'm about to reveal it. And you haven't even guessed exactly what they are yet. I'm not going to tell you if Scotch is clove.
Well, this can't be bourbon. I know that.
Okay, yeah, you're right there.
Right. But I think this is Irish. I think this is
Irish.
Scotch.
Irish
no,
or
wait.
Scotch? Similar but different.
Yeah.
Irish and
Okay.
Scotch are different. So, Irish that you most recently had was Green Spot. Scotch that you most recently had, I don't know about most recent, but you've had Monkey Shoulder. That's Scotch.
Okay.
I don't know what else in here you've had of mine.
I definitely think this is Irish.
Oh, okay. B is Irish.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I don't think this is Scotch.
Okay.
Or this is just classified as whiskey?
Scotch is from Scotland. Irish is from Ireland.
Okay.
That's the difference. Yeah.
So that's really my only other option then. B.
If it's different, they can be the same too.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. I don't want to make you think they are for sure different or the same, but I'm just letting you know that that's possible. Either one's possible.
All right, I'm going to go B is Irish and A is Scotch.
Okay. All right. Before we get any further, what do you think the proof is of each of them?
I think B is definitely higher.
Okay.
I think B is 80 to 90.
Okay.
And A is, it's got to be low. A is like,
80 is the minimum, just so you're aware.
okay, maybe B is 90 to 100 and A is 80 to 90.
Okay. All right. I like it. I like all the guessing, dude. You know what? You're not the host of this show, so nobody needs you to be right. This episode is brought to you by the Whiskey Noobs Patreon page and all of the awesome folks who support it. Head over to Patreon now and sign up for exclusive behind-the-scenes content, voting power in polls that determine the course of the show, and typed-out reviews and even more. You can find the Patreon page through the link in my bio on either TikTok or Instagram and click the button that says More Content on Patreon. Check it out now if you want more Whiskey Noobs in your life. I think you did a good job. If I'm right, I think you did a good job.
I'm excited.
Let's find out. So you said B tasted like licking an envelope. Definitely Irish.
Yeah.
You said A was a little bit smoother and sweeter and maybe a Scotch. And then for flavor notes, I know which is which. So we'll just go from there. You and I are both right, my friend. B is Green Spot.
The same one we drank before?
The same one we drank before. Yep. And I wanted to know if it would win because we did not like it when the first time we tried it. And I was like, we got to see if it's going to win or not.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So
that was a really good idea.
Thank you. I'm very devious. A, I don't think you've ever had. A is Redbreast, also an Irish whiskey. Okay. But I can't blame you because I don't think you've had any other Irish whiskeys. Maybe Jameson at some point.
I'm going to be honest with you. I kind of thought Scotch and Irish whiskey were the same thing.
I caught on to that. They're both made with barley, mostly. So, but with Irish, a lot of times it's malted and unmalted barley. Details. But the end of the day, you took one sip of B and you said, that's got that envelope taste. And I was like, this guy knows what he's doing. The envelope taste is unmistakable. And you smelled it and said Irish Springs, or you said Old Spice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You're consistent, man.
I would like to know what my flavor notes of the Green Spot were last time compared to this time.
I think they were pretty darn close, man. I think the only difference is why I love blind tastings. This time around, you had to focus so much that you recognized how complex it was.
Yeah.
That was the difference. You were like, oh, but there's so much transition happening. It's exploding when you take a sip of it.
My God, I said I'd buy a bottle of Green Spot.
You said you'd buy a bottle of Green Spot.
What is the price difference?
The price difference, I want to say Green Spot, I think, is around 80. I can look it up here. And then Redbreast is 65. So Redbreast is cheaper.
So they're both kind of... Yeah, there. I mean, for a guy like me.
Yeah, they're both higher shelf for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, and so the Redbreast is the one that says silky smooth with spicy, fruity, and sherry and toasted notes. I think that's super accurate.
Yeah.
And then the Green Spot is the spicy full body with clove, and that's right on.
For sure.
That clove.
And I remember after I heard the green apple last time, I was like, yeah, I get it. And I still get it after I remember, like after they say that it's green apple.
Yeah,
I get it now.
Oh, that makes sense.
That's like the elusive flavor to me.
Yep.
Each time it's elusive to me.
You'll have that. We were picking out my barrel pick that's going to be coming out, and I was like, it's got this like fruity, but not fruity, but like candy taste. And the one guy was like bubblegum. And I was like, bubblegum. Yeah. That's exactly. And then it clicked for me. I was like, juicy fruit bubblegum.
Right.
Yeah. But I am floored.
And now that I know, I stand by it because I feel like if I was to buy a bottle, I would buy B.
Yeah.
Because I would be interested to show it to people as well. I'd be like, hey, try this. It's at least it's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is nice. It's great. Now, maybe I would be more inclined to order this at dinner because it's a
Yes.
safer choice.
Yeah.
And I know that I'd be able to enjoy this glass.
The only downside with the Redbreast is if, depending on what you're eating, it could get drowned out pretty easily.
Right, that's what I'm
a little
saying.
hard to taste.
Yeah, that's why. Like in just a tasting situation, if you're sitting down to drink a glass of whiskey by yourself, like I know for me at least, I'm not like it's not like drinking a Dr. Pepper where it's just like
Hey, 23 flavors.
like there's some pain to be endured there,
Right.
But like you're tasting someone's creation, you're tasting somebody's art.
Yep.
And like it's important that it is complex and it is interesting, and you're like, wow, that could be green apple, that could be anise. What is that?
Right.
And I don't necessarily feel that way about the Redbreast. It's just kind of smooth and mature, and this is interesting.
I totally get where you're coming from, and I kind of stand by that. I prefer Redbreast personally, and it's for the same reason that you prefer the Green Spot.
Yeah,
it's the Green Spot. It's flashy, it's complex, but that ending bitterness to it, I don't like very much. The Redbreast it's simple, but it's done so well. Right. It's done for.
I think my metaphor is that Redbreast is like Pearl Jam and Green Spot is like Pink Floyd.
Yes.
Like it's interesting, it's an acquired taste, it's weird in a way, but it's good. And then Redbreast is just like nice to listen to.
Yes. Redbreast is like a 2020 Honda Civic.
Yup.
Green Spot is like the 1995 Honda Civic that's got spinners. It's like got the huge spoiler hanging off the back.
Yep. You pull up somebody and you're like, wow, that's interesting.
A lot of things have been done to it for sure. Now grab that bottle of Green Spot if you don't mind. I'm gonna grab Redbreast here, because you made a couple of predictions that I want to look at, and I don't remember off the top of my head, so I'm going to read them. So, Green Spot, they're both single pot still, so they're both malted and unmalted barley. That's the difference. So, with a single malt Scotch, there is also single malt Irish whiskey. Single malt is more common in Scotland, and it is just malted barley. That's what that means. Single pot still is pretty much, not entirely, but mostly half and half malted and unmalted barley.
That's probably that grain.
Yes. So it comes across more kind of grainy. I'm still getting better at telling the difference, but definitely more grainy, definitely a little bit more herbal. And so that's the difference there. And that's what I was wondering, and you were right. So Green Spot is also aged in sherry casks.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So it's bourbon and sherry casks. So you have a little bit of both. And then Redbreast, I think, is also bourbon and sherry casks. Let me find out, though. Finest oak casks for no less than 12 years. I don't know what it's aged in. Honestly, I'll have to look that up. But I know for sure it's aged in sherry casks.
I feel bad for all the bad things I said about Green Spot.
Yeah.
In the last
Gotta eat crow a little bit now, huh?
You know what's funny is like last time I came here, we were just hanging out.
Yeah.
You gave me all this stuff to try, and you're like, you're definitely gonna like this. I was like, nah. My palate is ever changing.
It is ever changing. And I had a feeling, because like I said, when you really have to sit down and think about it, it's like, yeah, it's nice and complex. It's, if you're talking with friends and drinking it, all you're gonna notice is that envelope.
For sure.
Because you're gonna miss everything that just happened that was so magical on your palate, and you're gonna then taste the aftertaste, the finish, if you will, that's like clove.
Right.
The Redbreast has the nice finish, so it's
right.
It's situational.
That's why like when I tried to, I just think of it as like, which bottle would I be more inclined to buy? And like I said, if I'm gonna buy a bottle, I want to buy something interesting, almost a conversation piece in a way, because it's just so different than at least the Redbreast, and I mean it's pretty different from anything else I've had before. And if you can get past that envelope, it is really complex. It's just that envelope that's it's pretty strong. But even going back to it now,
right? It's so perfumey in a good way and a bad way. Because like perfumes smell really good.
Yeah.
But it's almost like too much perfume.
Yeah.
That gives it this slightly bitterness. I'm gonna look up what Redbreast was aged in while we are talking here. But
I also think that if I was to like, I don't want to say that I'm like advanced in drinking
You're getting there,
whiskey
though.
at all.
You're getting there.
But I'm also like beyond the beginner stage where it all just tastes bad.
Yes.
I don't think that I would like Green Spot at all, like if I first started.
Oh gosh.
But it also
no.
may be a frame of mind because like now that I didn't necessarily have the what is the word I'm looking for here? The appreciation for the uniqueness of each bottle individually. Mm-hmm. Even when I was on here last, per se. And I think that now that I understand the process a little bit better, I also just appreciate how much more complexity is in that glass.
Right, like what it
glass.
takes to make complexity is, yes. And I just looked it up, and so Redbreast is also bourbon-seasoned American oak barrels and Oloroso sherry barrels. So we got bourbon and sherry on both. But I fully agree with you, and I love what you just said, and that is that when you were newer, you would not have liked Green Spot.
For sure.
And now think about this. Green Spot's more expensive than Redbreast, right? Yeah. What do so many beginners do because they don't know any better? They go buy the most expensive bottle they can afford because they're like, if it's expensive, it's got to be good.
Yep.
And they hate it. And as you just mentioned, you would have hated it, but now that you're more experienced, you like it.
Exactly.
And so many people, myself included, back when I was new to this, would try something nice and be like, oh, if I don't like what the experts like, then I must not like whiskey. And it's like, well, you shouldn't like what the experts like because they've been learning to like it for years.
Right.
Just try a dry wine and tell me,
Exactly. And that's exact. And that, there's kind of like, that's kind of like, you should have that approach with most things that are art forms and crafts. Like, you have to appreciate the art form or the craft or the end product for what it is. Mm-hmm. And if you don't appreciate it for what it is, most of the higher end things are things that are matured, aged. They're different. They're they're more rugged and they're not as beginner friendly.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
There's a reason that these cheap whiskey they're putting flavorings in them to make you be able to enjoy them.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're 100% right because we don't like people question that when it comes to whiskey. We don't question it when it's food.
Right.
And it's like the top tier food critics like this weird.
Yeah.
What's the one is it tartare, the one that's like literally raw beef all chopped up?
Yeah.
Like beginner people who don't know anything about the craft.
Right.
That's like, what are you eating?
Exactly.
But we don't even question it with food. With whiskey we do.
Well, and that's the other thing
people
too.
do.
It's like high scale food and high scale alcohol is craft. It's an art form. It's not eating a bag of potato chips or drinking a Dr. Pepper.
Right.
These are very complex. They're interesting. They're meant to be sat down and enjoyed at a slower pace than just inhaling a bag of chips or just sucking down a can of Dr. Pepper.
Right. And that's not to say that those lower shelf things don't have their place because I will have, especially like we said, when you're talking with friends, I want the thing that just tastes good.
For sure.
It doesn't need to taste like Old Spice and then grain and then perfume and then green apple. It just needs to taste good.
For sure.
Especially if I'm just talking to people. So this has been everything I wanted it to be and more. The experimentation here.
Yeah, I'm glad that we got the Green Spot back in there.
I'm so glad.
That's pretty fun.
I was like, I bet if I make him focus on it, his opinion. As soon as I sniffed both of them, because I've never done this side by side either.
Yeah.
And that's where I was really floored because I expected Redbreast for me to be obviously way better.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I do really like Green Spot. I still like Redbreast better for the price when you account for the price difference. But I'm like, I get it now. Yeah. I get it. It's complex. Yeah. It's got a lot going on. And that's what floored me. And that's why I wanted to go through it again. And I'm going to show you, just so you know, I put right between the notes and the picture.
Yes, sir. He was correct.
I was correct.
He was
B
correct.
is Green Spot. That was my guess, and I knew when I smelled it, I was like, I didn't know which was which.
Yeah.
Like I said, it stumped me. But I was like, Bryce gonna like the Green Spot.
I'll be excited to go back and listen to my last episode.
Yeah,
of Green Spot.
Listen to him. Let me tell everybody listening what episode that was, so that they know.
What's funny is I'm probably going to mention all the things that I liked about it. Yeah. I feel like this is why I didn't like it.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it tastes like Good and Plenty. It's just disgusting.
It tastes like herbs and anise.
Yeah. disgusting. Okay, so it was episode 90 where I had you and Zach on, and we had the green spot. But yeah, and would you believe that these are both single pot still, so very similar mash bill, Irish whiskey,
So cool.
both aged in American and sherry oak.
So cool.
Can you believe
so
that?
similar yet so different.
So different.
And that's why, like I said, I've gained a real appreciation for it. It's just because it's just two things that are very similar, and yet they are worlds apart.
Yeah.
And that's just an expression of the people creating that. And that is what's so cool about it.
And how the littlest things, maybe the shape of the still, maybe the barrel it's aged in, completely change it.
And how many batches and how long it took those people just to make that distinction and have that click. That's what is so cool.
Yes. The only other thing I will add is these are both 80 proof, by the way.
Oh, they are.
That's why I wanted to ask you to guess, and it's okay.
The green spot definitely does seem. I think it's just that perfumey.
It is. It's the spiciness. Yeah. It's a little bit hotter. All right. Well, let me just finish by saying, like I said, this is everything I wanted to be anymore. I'm so glad we did this.
For sure.
That worked out exactly how I wanted it to go. It was harder for me to figure out than I thought it was going to be, and it also made you kind of focus on the complexity.
For sure.
It was awesome.
For sure. Did you think I was going to pick the green spot?
I didn't know. And because I don't think you've had Redbreast before.
No,
so
I don't think I have.
I was like, it totally depends. And it's like I said, Redbreast is like really simple, but really well done.
Yeah.
Green spot's a little flashier, but also has some notes that aren't as enjoyable.
Right.
For us specifically, because other people do like it. But so that's why I wasn't sure. But I'm glad to see that you did, because that makes it even more blind, even more effective of a blind.
Right. At least you know it was real, because the last time I hated green spot.
You're right. And if even if you'd never had green spot and I sat down, I said, this one's more expensive, this one's cheaper. You'd be like, oh, I see why. I do the same thing.
For sure. And that's a really good point, because if you did tell me that you're like, this is 65, this is 80, I'd be like, I can tell.
Yeah. Everybody does. Myself, everybody does it. That's why blinds are so helpful.
For sure.
All right, we could talk all day about how much fun this was, and that's why you guys at home should be doing them. Can you recommend blinds, Bryce?
For sure.
How much more fun was this than a normal take?
It was way more fun. I feel like the only thing is I need a little inspiration sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You need somebody with you during the blind?
Yeah, because like sometimes I just get lost. I can't. It's harder to pull out flavors.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's like when you see it in front of you, it's just like, oh, maybe it's this, that, or the other. And when there's none of that, it made it a little more difficult to pull out flavors.
Well, and you also don't know what it is, so you're like more nervous to say, because like, what if I say a bourbon note and then it ends up being Irish? It's like, but that's what makes it, and it also helps you get way better at picking out flavors.
For sure.
Because you just picked Old Spice, envelope, you picked all that out without reading anything.
Right.
So I mean, that's pretty awesome too. I think everybody should be doing blinds at home. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode, and I already revealed it in the beginning, so we're going to record that here at the end and cut it and put it at the front. But hopefully if you guys did this blind, if you had the ability to, because I did put that in the newsletter, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, because blind tastings are so much fun. If you have anybody scramble them up for you, just do it, or put the number on the bottom and just scramble them blind, like with your eyes closed. That's another way to do it. Blinds are a ton of fun, though.
For sure.
They're a ton of fun, and I think everybody should be doing them. And let me know if you like Redbreast or Green Spot better. I could go back and forth, and that is an improvement for Green Spot. Because I said in the Green Spot episode, Redbreast is way better than Green Spot.
I think we did, for sure.
Yeah, and I remember saying that, and now I'm like, I might eat crow a little bit. This is...
I just want to apologize to Green Spot.
I'd like to issue a formal apology to Green Spot, because, it's complex, it's good, it's awesome. It is all we can say about Green Spot today. But before I finish for the day, I do want to shout out Mark Porter and Zach Stanton, our two latest highest tier patrons. So thank you guys for joining the Patreon. That is super helpful, and it does so much for the show. So thank you guys so much for signing up for that. If you want to sign up for the Patreon, you can do that at the link in the show notes or at patreon.com/whiskeynoobs. Today was a great example of our motto. If you want to learn to drink, what do you got to do, Bryce?
Drink to learn.
You got to drink to learn. Thank you for listening to this episode of Whiskey Noobs. If you like the show, please make sure to leave a 5-star rating or review to help grow the show and get the word out. You can also find more Whiskey Noobs content on Instagram at whiskey_noobs and on TikTok at Whiskey Noobs Podcast. If you want to drink right along with me, make sure to join the email list by sending an email to whiskeynoobspodcast@gmail.com with a subject line saying email list. You will receive monthly emails with a list of the whiskeys that will be featured throughout the month so that you can buy them ahead of time and drink right along with the show. Once again, thanks for listening to this episode. The Whiskey Noobs Podcast does not support underage or otherwise irresponsible consumption of alcohol.